lot of people talking about the Stuart Armstrong penalty. Was it a pen? Was it not? The majority of people were suggesting it is a pen.
Yeah,
What's
I thought it was a
your view on
pen.
it? You thought it was a pen?
I thought it was a penalty. Can I just add to that though? I always think players and watching so much football as I have done over the years, when you get the wrong side of a defender, when you get in the position that Stuart Armstrong found himself in, and get the shot away.
Yeah.
Take the shot. If you look like you're going to take the shot, and at no point did he actually. All he was really concerned with was, and I get it, putting his body between Willie Orban and the ball, but try and engineer that ball onto your strongest foot to get your shot away. And I think he missed a bit of an opportunity there. That aside, that is a penalty. That, I think, is a penalty in anybody's book.
I agree with you to a certain extent. In fact, I just agree with you. No, I agree with you. But what I will say, a bit like when you watch Premier League football and you've got 2 games to go and the ball's they're going over the line, not so much now because we've got goal line technology, or penalty, something happens and you go, that might cost us. We might go down because of that. I'm like, you've got 38 games in the Premier League. They've had 3 matches to get out of this group. I think if you're pinning your hopes on a decision going your way or not in the dying moments of your last group game, then you maybe argue that you've left it a little bit too late. Yes, it should have been a penalty. Yes. You can argue the horrific collision up the other end, right? And we wish him well. That could have been a penalty. The goalkeeper's come out, his elbows everywhere. I mean, that was an awful, awful challenge. That could have been a penalty. So it's... Again, it swings and roundabouts.
Look, ultimately, and Scotland never did anything like enough. Their biggest regret when they're sat, the lads and Stevie Clarke sat on a beach, no doubt, 10 days' time. And I think the biggest regret is not necessarily not qualifying out of the group. I don't think Scotland fans that went out there in such incredible numbers would have ever absolutely pinned their hopes totally on them definitely qualifying. But winning a game, just win. If they'd have given those fans one game where they'd won it, and you just give them something very special to remember for actually a very long time. I've been in that situation when we beat Italy first game in Giant Stadium in 1994. They went on to the final. We went out in the first knockout phase. They went on to the final, but that win kind of it lives long in the memory, and all the rubbish around it and crap games that you've played, they kind of fade into the background as the years go on. But you have that one special day that you really look back on and you think you're so proud to have been a part of that. It would have been lovely for the Scottish boys to do that.
We were talking before the tournament started, is it a good or a bad thing, the fact they got Germany in their opening fixture? And the general rule of consensus was, or the thoughts, were that it's always better to take on the big hitters first because they haven't got going yet.
Yeah.
And then they got absolutely smashed to pieces in the first game.
Yeah.
With hindsight, was that...
I would still agree with that. I would still think that was the best time to play them. It was the mindset, and it was the mindset last night. Scotland, again, go a bit old school, put the ball in the box. They got Shea Adams playing up front. With the greatest respects to him, is a very honest, hard-working lad. Not a lot more than that. That's his strengths. That's what they are. But keep him involved in the game. Put the ball in the box. I couldn't understand how slow and deliberate they were continually trying to keep the ball. For what reason are we trying to do this? Why are we just keeping it and going nowhere and eventually putting something in the box where no one's ready for it? No one knew when it was coming in. No one was.
I wanted to see more from McGinn and McTominay as well going forward. I didn't see that.
And I think go a bit more old school. Play with a little bit more up and atom, a little bit more dynamism, and just be prepared to get some numbers in the box and see what breaks for you. There's nothing wrong with that. For the last 10 minutes, that was all you saw. And then we saw a bit of a game.
I really enjoyed the game. The last 10 minutes were wonderful. I enjoyed the game. I mean, Scottish fans, of course, didn't in the end. I want to ask you about how they will view the Scottish fans looking back. 4 shots on target in 3 games. Right, you could argue you didn't really give it a go. Do you think, hand on heart, when the Scottish fans come back, or even the ones that were here watching it on the telly, do you think they are proud or slightly embarrassed? I think it's easy to say we're proud of our team for getting there, little old Scotland, which I totally get, right? They don't have a giant pool of players to choose from.
No.
Okay, but having said that, once you've got there, give it a go. 4 shots in 3 games.
Yeah, I don't think embarrassed, and I don't think they should be embarrassed. I don't think so.
I'm asking the question, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should be embarrassed. I'm asking this question.
I don't believe they should feel embarrassed. I think genuinely they will know that. I don't think any of their players scored anything more than a 6, hardly in any of their games. I didn't, as you're right, McTominay and McGinn, the two biggest players, really didn't, I don't think, influence games enough. Billy Gilmore, very neat and tidy last night, but without able to really find anybody in a position to make something. They just couldn't seemingly engineer something for themselves to really look like they were going to convert something, which is why then, if that's not really happening, mix your game up, mix it up. They tried to look like a team, Scotland, last night, really, without being one, without really being effective at making something happen in the last third where you've got to find it.
Okay, so there are a couple of the questions, 03717223334. Another question we'll be asking will be about who takes Scotland forward. Have a listen to this. Former West Ham boss David Moyes, he joined Jim White and Simon Jordan this morning and was asked about whether he'd potentially take the Scotland job if Stevie Clarke was to leave.
I believe that the Scotland job would be a good job for any manager. But some managers, when they've worked quite hard over the few years, need a break and sometimes have to just take a wee bit of time to take your time before you do anything. But look, I have to say, and you know me, Simon, I'm always now going to stick up for managers the way I see it. But I'll always try and be honest. I think Steve's done it. None of you could say that Steve Clarke hasn't done a good job for Scotland. Steve Clarke has done a brilliant job.
I mean, he answered it brilliantly. It's always a difficult question. I'm guessing they're pals, so it's difficult to say, I'll have that job.
Correct. Morsey answered that very well, and correctly, in my opinion. Yeah. I think he did. I think Clarke, he has done. Stevie was a former teammate of mine at Chelsea many years ago, and you couldn't find a more honest individual than Steve. And I think what he did along the way, getting to the tournament, I think he's always been thoughtful, methodical, realistic, but definitely when they look back, they never gave that good account of himself. I don't think in any of the games.
What do you, just quickly, I want to take calls on, what would you do?
If I was Steve Clarke?
No, if you were in charge, if you were the Scottish FA.
Oh no, I'd let him go. I'd definitely say we want you to stay, keep it going.
Was ist das? talkSPORT?